All right, guys, TerrainParkour version 300. Here we go. Um, so yeah, it's been quite a while since an update, about 5 months. Let me move this. Actually, I'll just put it over here. So yeah, it's been about 5 months. A lot of stuff has happened. Number one big thing is the AI LLM assistants and stuff like that came out, which really know Roblox well and really let me speed up my coding and whatnot like that. Um, so that was good. The other thing was, how do we get this? Okay. So yeah, let me just go over what has changed. But first, let me give the update on the give an update on the change today. So I just added some new signs, and because I did that big movement rewrite, I guess probably 2 months ago, like in the new era, 2024 era, it was before controlling movement, especially when it was like a specific sign had specific rules for like finishing a race or moving, was super complicated and just really, really like involved tons of files and just that's why there's so many bugs in it because I hadn't designed it in the right way. So I spent about 2 weeks very intensely like rewriting all that, and now we have a kind of an event system where say I like start the race here, the first event would be like touched sign, and then as I'm running, like every time I jump, there's an event like user jumped at this location and at this time. Every time I switch terrain, it'll say like user switch terrain from this to that, and anything really that happens. So that can be a useful foundation for a ghosting system in the future, obviously. Um, because like I mean, even as it currently stands, like we don't have data every second. Sometimes we only have data every like 3 seconds, but still you could sort of drop points on the map for the user's progression, through the area. Um, and so yeah, I rewrote that, which really just enabled everything. Like it just made everything much more organized. So basically, all signs are of two types now. There's the old sign type, which is just a part and a name and a list. That's all there really is to it. And it shows up at a certain location. You do runs and all that stuff is normal. But there's a new sign type called dynamic sign or special sign, I guess is what I call it on the user side, which is a sign whose actual like behavior is controlled by code. So it's even something that you guys can submit. So if you have an idea for a sign, you basically can submit like a short file to me, which you don't need to run the whole game. I mean, it's going to be hard to test without the game, but I think it's doable. And basically, so here's how it works: you make the sign so that it responds to certain events, and my system will feed the events to you whenever the sign is like active as part of you're running from the sign. And so, say you wanted a sign that penalizes the user, like gives them a slowdown whenever, or say gives them an extra plus 1 seconds as like a penalty every time they jump. You would make a sign which has no special functions, like you can always run from it. It doesn't care about it doesn't care about retouch. Like when you retouch, it just resets all the data. But every time, but there's one function called like sign received information that a new terrain type was touched. And instead of doing nothing there, you'd keep a counter. So you'd say, oh, or sorry, a new jump. Sign received info that the user did a jump, right? So then it would tell the sign like, hey, user did a jump, and you'd be able to account for that. You'd say, oh, the time we're actually going to use should be plus 1 seconds or plus 10 or whatever you want to do. I think plus 10 would be very interesting because it would be like, you can jump, but you really have to allocate your jumps very carefully. It'll save you more than 10 seconds, like go for it, but it still may be better to go the long way around sometimes. So, oh, this is blocking. So let's move this. Okay, so yeah, these are the users' notifications. So many users in the game now. So I'm very excited about that, and a couple of users like really promisingly have submitted ideas for signs. There's like none of them are out yet. I haven't actually gone over them because this system wasn't actually really ready to go. Like, but I just asked Claude and different LLMs to give me architecture for it, and that really really helped. So I think I have a pretty good understanding of how it's going to work now. And my dream would be a bunch of people, even people that are not coders, can still relatively easily submit sign ideas. And I can expand the API, and you'll be able to do more and more stuff like modify the avatar. There's a sign that makes you big. There's a sign that makes you go faster. There's a sign that makes you walk in normal walk speed, which is incredibly slow in this game. And the overall plan is to go. You see those, right? The overall there's a resizer. Okay. The overall plan is to sort of go back maybe and look at some of the old signs because there's like 590 signs now, right? And I think 200 normal signs is fine, but there's so many normal signs, and a lot of them really have almost nothing special about them. I mean, I tried to make their zone and their terrain interesting and placement and be hidden and whatnot, but I still think even a minor like specialness, like for this sign, you get a super jump boost whenever you hit, this specific terrain here, right? Like just that would mean that all the old records are still valid, but there's the potential to get a bunch of new records, right? Utilizing this new power year from the sign. And that's not a very, invasive special sign nature at all, really. For some signs it would be very dramatic, but most of them, 5-10% probably. That aligns with my goal of not nuking, like not modifying the game so that old records become impossible. If old records become beatable, well, that's too bad. You can join in and beat them again, right? But so yeah, I have this sort of prototype system. This is the new. So I read a lot of UIs. Big pictures. I have a generic like resizing library and minimization library. There's definitely bugs in leaderboard. Like I think they're fixed actually upstream, but I haven't reloaded the game. It's just a minor fix. Anyway, they still have bugs. Like they overlap each other. They can get off screen sometimes. I'm working on that. I found it super fun to do that. These are also sortable, so you can actually sort. I don't know if anybody ever does this, but I think sorting works on string though, so it's really not perfect. I need to fix that as well. But yeah, you can sort by what you care about, right? And this is sticky. Like it'll stick to your. Oh, that's very annoying how it pops like that. That's not good at all. But yeah, so that was very, very fun. That took about a week. Not something that users really noticed, but I think they use it, but it's not the type of thing they're like commenting like, "Oh, this is great." But I do think it really improved the game, especially resizability because it helps mobile. The other interesting thing is you can. So I'm modifying the columns that are being shown here, right? This is sticky. I have a string. I actually have a Roblox data type, like Roblox table data type. So it can be like really complex configuration tables, basically. It's still all dynamically typed, which is, it sucks, but like that's life, right? I could obviously fix it. My real dream, which I've been resisting because I know it's something that I care about a lot, but others don't necessarily care about, would be to make this more dynamic. So not just show, like these should be draggable to be the order. So the order that they would appear here on the top should be the order that they appear here, maybe vertically. And then there'd be another column called width with like a left arrow and a right arrow, and you just click it and it would make it wider and narrower. And then this would dynamically update like that. Like that would give ultimate personalization. Regarding leaderboard, I've also added a whole bunch of new stuff. So I've added CWR ranks, a bunch of today's stuff, world records today, CWRs today. I added world record rank. I added runs today. Game days I added. These are all people that have played for like more than 300 days in a row or whatever. I do want to add actually like days in a row, but streak, but I don't care about that. I don't want to force people to do streaks if they don't want to do it. That's kind of silly. I also added pinned, which you can pin a race. So yeah, so that's super fun. I also redid this. It's quite bad now. The run UI. This obviously should be way, 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 way better. Like number one problem, it's not integrated with speed, which it obviously should be, and it was before. Number two problem is a lot of these special signs. I actually think this is not a problem. This is going to be super fun. A lot of special signs kind of imply a new UI here, right? So there's a section for like a where I can actually draw a custom UI. So for example, there's the idea of a sign that you can only jump every 10 seconds, right? Well, there should be a timer countdown for the 10 seconds, or like a visual timer where there's a progress bar, and when it gets to the end, it says like jump available, right? And if you end with a jump, you get -2 seconds, or whatever, right? Like all kinds of great stuff is here. This is also an area where like budding programmers can either improve my sign UIs just by doing UI stuff, even offline, or really go crazy and be creative. So that's another big change that's happened. What else? Oh yeah, the other big change is this, and I find this very, very useful. So this is called the grind UI. I don't want to hit F9, but it seems like things are slightly messed up. I'm not sure why that's not working. So right-clicking is not working there. Let me check the server errors. Yeah, there's actually lots of server errors over here. That's out of date as well. So yeah, I store server errors on the server now, but actually I found out Roblox does it themselves too. Playtime, I would say, is quite a bit up. Like, it's actually pretty common to have 5 players in game, and it used to be basically like 2 or 3, like, really hardcore serious people. So I love that. My goal now is maybe get it to like 10. Like if I could have 10 players and or 15 players, like even at peak per day, I mean, that would be incredible. That would really be incredible. Like really, really amazing. And that 10 is a lot, right? And the guys that I have now, they're so dedicated. I think they're just great. Like really great. I really appreciate everybody's like diligence. I mean, the game has got a lot more fun. You have to say, like, it really has gotten a lot more fun. Oh, let me show signed grind UI actually. So grind UI is because something that people did manually before and it's quite painful to do was identify signs that they want to run or races that they want to run and they want to dominate, right? So if you're specializing in a certain sign, you come here. Is this going to work? This is quite bad for the video. I guess we check this, right? So this is client. Okay, so just some old debugging messages. Yeah, so this gap list since the last run stuff is because I have some code. I don't know. I do need to get into this. I have code that detects like you started a run. Basically, when you finish a run, I sort of delay a bit before trying to get you to start another run, so that you're running, jumping, you hit your target, and then you like jump again or you touch it again because sign touch events fire all the time. Like it's quite uncontrolled. But it's very annoying. You touch a sign and then you immediately start a new race. Like I found that users never complained when I made there be like sort of an invisible buffer there for where for like 1 or 2 seconds, or maybe like 1 or 0.8 seconds, the sign is just like effectively untouchable. I believe what's happening, although I'm not sure, is that because I'm like manipulating the actual runtime, in other words, I'm saying you actually run it in 10 seconds, but if you touch like if you touched a whole bunch of terrains, which is the special function of that sign, you'll get a bonus or you get a penalty of seconds added to your time, which is confusing some part of the downstream system into thinking that the actual end time was like this fake like penalty time, when actually it's not. Yeah, I really want to make a random terrain zone. Like this is, I think this came out okay. I mean, it looks kind of cool, but yeah, I'd want to make one which is just continuously randomly varying, right? That's fun. I wish there was a couple more signs closer to Papua. Or to say, like this start place is brutal, actually. Like I'm a little bit worried it's going to be impeding run freedom because people will be so stressed out about like accidentally retouching. So I got out of there with +5. Let's just go this way. I'll be at +6. It is not really in a very well connected area. Anyway, going on. There's sign ideas. There's once you start thinking of sign ideas, like you realize that every single mechanic in the entire game, about movement or about one's personal history, is like now a something that you can make a special sign act in reference to, right? Like the time, all your actions during the run. So like say like every 10 jumps you get a super jump, right? Well, that there would be a sign that would do that, and there's just really so many, and it's so easy to think of them. Like me and my co-dev worked on that a lot, and he came up with a lot of great ideas. That was really the inspiration for this. And so here we go. Okay, what else has happened here? People are really running the sign a lot. What are they doing? So they go over there. Okay. It requires a lot of precision, which I guess is slightly stressful. Like I wish there was a way out that was faster, but oh, Shalfie is messed up. Yeah, I added this, and I don't know if I actually added it properly. I gotta fix that. So yeah, what else has changed? Let's see. A lot of this S button down here is now moved over to here. More user settings there. Random race. Does this not count? Yeah, highlighting. I guess highlighting is new, right? Yeah, highlighting is new. Highlighting is really fun. Like it's another of those suggestions that's basically like, I didn't have a super strong allegiance to realism in the game. That wasn't like my main goal, but I did just sort of want to default to realism as my main way of thinking. But every time I relaxed that, right, by like even the initial adding of warping, it was such a gigantic improvement in quality of life for the players. And I think this for this too. The show is very fun because you can do stuff like this, right? Like it's ridiculous. It's so interesting and beautiful, isn't it? Like every single one of these has some little soul or personality to it. What other commands have we got here? added a couple more commands, pinning races, yeah, nothing like that. Anyway, so that's the update. I'm very excited to work on things still. There's really tons and tons of ideas. I'll look at the ideas and give you a little preview here. So I have an idea for movement v3. So the way movement works now is when you move, so let me start. Race, oh no. Okay, I move and now as long as I'm continuously moving, I will continuously speed up. At first, the plus percentage thing is not working. It's supposed to say plus percent, whatever. A lot of bugs, man. Whoa. It'll quickly accelerate to like plus 5% or something, and it'll gradually accelerate, logarithmically up to like plus 11.5%. After 11 seconds, it switches to a much slower increase rate, which is effectively capped because log just grows so slowly. So there's basically there's two gears. There's like first gear where you accelerate in a continuously lower rate, and then the second gear where you accelerate much lower at a more flat but very, very low rate. Actually, that's also logarithmic. And the other big thing about movement is when you switch terrains, you lose 100% of your built up time. So I'm at like whatever, plus 10. Now I'm back to exactly 68, right? Exactly 68. Now let me show you this other thing. So I'm moving up, let me get to like a high speed as long as I run. So when I jump, I quickly drop down. I get a 4-second penalty. But the thing is, like, my actual latent time on terrain number hasn't gone down. All that I'm doing is receiving a 4-second penalty. So, like, I'll jump a bunch, right? So I'll get myself down to very, very slow, 65. Then I'll run a little bit. Look at that, I'm already up to 74, right? But if I stop and run, it'll take me a long time to get to 74. So this system works pretty well. There's a number of problems, though, which is that one problem is that and what is a problem in this context? A problem in this context is a design of the game which makes users not have to really think and really be proficient. In other words, a design choice which frees users from like skill, right? Which puts them all in the same bucket, even if they are more skilled. I don't want that. I want there to be very high skill cap. So I realized that what's actually bad is killing all their momentum. Because if you're going to a zone where like there's really no avoiding changing terrain, all you know is like you're gonna be at 68. Like you're gonna be at plus 0 speed after you're done with the zone, whether or not you hit 3 or 4 new terrains or 1 new terrain, and whether or not which terrain you hit. Like going from grass to leafy grass kills all your momentum, just as going from like asphalt into grass, which that doesn't make any sense, right? Like, so here's the idea for movement v3. 3 changes. Number 1, have a much more sophisticated gear system, so that well, I guess let me put a new number 1. Now, new number 1 is each terrain type can have its own totally independent gear system, right? Like some terrains can have a slow starting speed, but a very high max speed. There could be, and then subsequently there can be multiple gears. So there could be fast gears, slow gears, like just like Trackmania, which is like 6 or 7 gears, and gear management is a sort of high intermediate to pro level skill, where you just have a very, very high skill cap there. Same here, right? It could do, I don't want to be extremely varied by terrain. Like it shouldn't be as, one terrain has no gears and the other has like 50. Well, maybe I'll do one terrain like that, but in general, gear optimization skill should be a thing that you develop globally as you get better at the game. I indicate all this to you via particles, which are new. Every particle that comes out, fewer and fewer particles come out. Green particles come out to the proportionally with some modifying function to how much speed you actually gain in that interval. I only up your speed when it changes by a certain threshold. So if speed is not continuously updated, I believe there's a time threshold. It can't be updated more than X times, more than every X seconds, and a speed diff minimum size change, which is very, very interesting, introducing these like semi-artificial cutoffs. Anyway, so yeah, I have a different gear system by terrain. Secondly, and I think this one is quite easy to implement, rather than losing all your speed, lose half your speed, or something like that. Right? That way, you're incentivized to not touch too many intermediate terrains if you can avoid it. Like, might as well, right? And thirdly, yeah, as I said before, modify the terrain-terrain relationships. So, naively, my feeling is that like a very dramatic terrain type change should spur a dramatic punishment. Whereas like a convenient or easy natural terrain type change might even speed you up, right? Like when you switch from sand to, sandstone, maybe you gain, effective 4 seconds of acceleration, or whatever, on the new terrain, or some absolute number of speed. It's the equivalent thing really for me. That would be very fun. So, okay, who we got in the server? So let's work to my bulb. Yeah, so people are still working over here. Yeah, so that movement v3, it's almost a direct improvement. I think there's clearly going to be ways to do it which do not result in a global speed down, right? They'll be neutral or global speed up, at worst. Although I'm much less concerned with like partially making some former world records like not possible anymore. That, for a long time, that was my major like protective guiding principle. It's still something I deeply care about, but the users just don't seem very sensitive to it. Like occasionally nuking like the top 1% of a sign via movement changes, it's just not, nobody's like freaking out about it, right? They're more excited to see like positive changes in the game, which is great because it frees me. So yeah, those are pretty easy movement changes to do quickly. Okay, other big stuff that's going to happen, going to bring back random contests and like design contests. Users be able to submit contests by command line or some of the UI. Users don't think that random contests will be interesting. I actually think they will, based on the Slay the Spire experience. Like, there's a random tournament every day with tons of weird modifiers. Nobody even knows it's random. Like, you find sense in everything, right? Like, it's going to be A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, etc. Random number, like 10, 15, 4, whatever. I'll do some moderation of distances and stuff, so it's not like needlessly crossing the map pointlessly, but daily contest, daily, some kind of reward for that. That's a big thing that's coming. Many more, much more interesting signs with UIs. More crazy stuff. I have an idea for doing notifications. I think in general, like users of all domains like Slack and Facebook, everybody loves to react, right? Well, why can't I react to him pinning this? Like, why can't I right click here and do like, Vervi Alpha Chung's like thumbs up of +1ness, or my own custom emoji, right? Like Twitch has kind of got at that. Custom emojis or whatever stickers are beneficial. They're very valuable. They're not just some like foolish little thing. And I just want to go absolutely crazy to town doing an extremely pervasive notification system that you can give to people, including like real game effects, like giving people ticks and things like that. That's a big project. This is big movement v3. All kinds of other stuff. I want to have a speed run archive style history of a sign. So say I run society to here, I would like to see the history of who was in first place, right? I'd like to be able to ghosting. So you click on this and it would show you the ghost. And the first place would be like just a graph, like times improved, and the intervals of improvement would continuously drop over time. I think it would be incredible. Yeah, it's getting to the end here. There's really so many good ideas, so many good things. Yeah, my motivation is just like do fun stuff, do things that other games wouldn't do. I'm still holding fast to my main goal of like do things that are optimized for the most extreme users, the most dedicated users, not for the newbie users. I think the recent development has had the effect of making the game a lot more approachable. Like it really is quite a bit easier to get into the game now than prior days allowed. But that was brutal. That's not my goal. I mean, I'm happy about it. I do like when people play, and I would love to have lots and lots of players, but no, this is still like a power user game. Like it's all about the power user. That's really what it's about. I also want to do signs that run to the sign. So like a sign such that when you run to it, things which you didn't even know were counting would actually be counting in the background, like number of jumps to get here, for example. Oh yeah, there's other stuff like jump pads, although I think that could be accomplished in other ways. I'm not against it. Yeah, all kinds of really crazy weird signs. Particles I want to move to the server so that everyone can see other people's particles. I think that would be very, very important. No collide on sign, so that would restore the ability to actually collide with other players when you're running from that sign. I think that would be incredible. Yeah, there's really just quite a few. Automatic badge creation, I think, would be great. Like have a script which uses the 5 free badge creations per day, dumps the links into a database, or dumps the IDs into a database. And then when users join, we just, like every day, we just grant one for the prize. Use the ideogram API to create the badges and upload the badges. It's just great. Zenk sent a bunch of really great feedback about like quality issues. I think I have fixed some of them. I know there's a lot outstanding. I'd love to fix more of them. Oh, other stuff that's interesting is users have started to upload videos to YouTube Shorts, most to get like 3 or 4 likes, but I saw one that got about 60 or 80 likes, 700 views. That's great, right? Like to the extent that the game is, I guess the more the game is visually appealing or interesting or unusual looking, and it feels like something, complex and or deep is going on, the more users will be interested, right? Which I love. New users. I think the main gain there would be redoing the speed UI, right? Like so that when you're looking at the screen, you can look at it and see what's happening. I think customizability of leaderboard would be good with widths. That's just a project that I really want to do. The LLMs are not, you can waste a lot of time with them because there's certain things they just really can't do, but it feels like they almost can do it. They're very good for learning APIs though. I've learned a ton of new APIs. Yeah, let me cut it off there. There's really a ton of ideas. LLM world is giving me, there's a lot of stuff to do nowadays, not all Roblox, but yeah, super enjoy it. Thanks so much to the players. You guys are awesome. Oh yeah, here's the other thing. I'm gonna try to hire somebody to work on the game. I mean, why not? Like, so you guys, I'm serious about this. If you guys have interest in coding, even if you're relatively newbie, like, it does require a lot of diligence and it will be frustrating, but it's much better now than it was 5 or 10 years ago or 20. It's much, much easier to get started. I would help you. The idea would be if you're interested, like, let's talk. Probably have to be over 18. I don't know if you can hire like a contractor. I don't know what the rules are. But yeah, you'd be a contractor. I'd pay you a good wage. Assuming you pass the interview and like we work well together. I'm not here to exploit you. I basically, my goal would be like make the game better, let you develop your skills and stuff and like have fun and just really experience like the joy of creation and having people like look at your stuff. It's like super fun, right? You have these crazy ideas and you guys are my people. I found my nutballs that crazy people that love this type of wild obsession stuff that I do too. It's a rare type of person, but let's make more stuff that we would all like, right? I think that'll be great. So yeah, if you're interested, go to the coding channel, like ping me, we can have a video interview. I'm not like super judgmental and crazy. I mean, if you're a new programmer, you're a new programmer. Like, there's no hiding it, right? I'm gonna find out anyway. So it's more about like, do you want to try? Like, do you want to, will you get frustrated or will you just be like, it's okay. Like, let me just go step by step. Let me start again. Let me rethink what I thought before and correct my errors. First 5 years of programming are really hard. Like, it's very frustrating. You don't know what's going on, but you got to start somewhere and like, it's definitely worth it to get that power. So I'd love to be able to just sort of, the technical setup would be, there'd be like the core game, all the code, I'm also going to put the Python part of the game on GitHub. Like, there's no reason to, right? I just have to do some cleanups first and like make sure security is going to be good. I have to keep the production IP safe because I don't want to deal with like people spamming it and all that kind of junk. So we'd have to have some kind of cutout layer where if you're the developer or a tester, it could be even a member of the public, right? Like, you fork the game, you add in the unique requirements, like what is the actual, host that has the database. For you, you'd have your test database that like, I could make a public database that clears every 24 hours, something like that. And then you'd be able to test stuff locally, right? And you'd be able to, my testing setup locally is great. It's a very, very, very fast loop. I have a test place I edit. You could test something in 5 seconds, right? Like, change the code, hit play, you're done in the test place. Much smaller, it loads quickly. So you test it out, you push it to GitHub. Once you thought it worked, I'd review it. We could review it together. I'd give you a code review. We'd just talk about the feature. And then we could ship it, right? And there's also an offer open to all players. Check out the UGC signs concept, right? Like, check out how they're implemented, the newer ones of them. And try your hand at it, right? Like, I'll help you. Basically, give me your idea. If you even make any kind of start at it that shows you really thought about it, you're taking it seriously. It doesn't have to be perfect. I can fix the syntax and just get into the game. And there'll definitely be a badge specifically for people who submit signs which make it into the game. That's a very special thing, like, to get that far to create something. And if you're interested in doing bigger coding, UGC signs is a great way to get started, right? Do a couple of those. Show that you want to learn. It'll take a while, but you'll be paid. Like, if you're doing real stuff, I'm not going to waste your time. You'll be paid. And my dream would be, build up a good community of developers so that all this. I mean, my to-do list is 89 pages, guys. There's 89 pages of ideas, and they're not repeats. Like some are, slightly repetitive, but in general, we just keep thinking of more stuff, right? And it gets better and better over time. Although there are a lot of gems buried way down in there in the history. So I'd love to be able to like the part of it that you care about a lot, right? As long as it's Robloxian, as long as it's terrain parkour style and theme, um, you're not going to mess other things up. Like if somebody wants to do a certain thing, let them do it. I have no problem with that. If that's what they're interested in, let's do it, right? Let's ship all this stuff. Get the velocity up, fix old bugs. That's also good. So I'd love to have somebody, from the community that could contribute to the game. I do think community is absolute requirement. Probably, yeah. Because if you don't understand the game, like when people see the game, they just don't get it at all, right? They're just like, what is this? The UI is horrible. I hate this. That type of stuff. So I don't want to deal with that, right? Yeah. So now, if you did become that, you would have to like, be hard to be like a pro racer at that point because you know all the secrets, right? Like, I'm sure we could work out something there. You have an alt, and as long as we have a good relationship of trust, like it can work. But thinking about it on the product level, like how are we really going to design this stuff? Sure, you're designing for yourself and stuff that you think would be awesome, but you're also designing for all the users, right? Like, your viewpoint changes. Like, I think I've deleted all my stats. I think I've nuked my production user a year or two ago, just because I found I was getting too obsessed with like being in the lead and all this stuff, right? That's not when you're working on the game. That's not your role anymore. Although, obviously you guys like to play. I don't want to mess that up for you. So we could work out something where we could still play. Anyway, I've been going on and on and on. We're at many, many minutes here. 31 minutes. Oh, time flies. Anyway, have fun, guys. I'm going to upload this. Keep it going. Thanks for the support. Bye, guys.